Welcome to this afternoon's sessions. This is a quick presentation on tips and tricks for successfully implementing audits. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Steve Harrison. My background is technical, been a developer for a long time, and then I moved about 4 years ago into the product management team. But I'm also one of the subject matter experts for our audit module in Master Control. First of all, apologies, I'm afraid, not just because you've got me, but also for the description. It does say that we want to cover integration to other modules. So my vision for this was to make this kind of like a troubleshooting for people who are looking at implementing audit or people who are just about to start configuring systems. So what I'm not going to be able to cover is the integration to other modules. But if anyone wants to grab me for any sessions that I'm not presenting on tomorrow, then just come and find me and we can set up and we can go through and do all that kind of stuff if you want to. So unfortunately, kind of the session description got a bit lost in translation from what I originally envisaged, but hopefully, close.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's better. Thank you.
I was hoping not to use that, but I'm going to have to. Sorry. Okay. So, what I wanted to go through was some of the kind of common stuff that you potentially are going to run into when you want to set up the audit module. The audit module it's one of the more complicated modules in Master Control. There's quite a few external dependencies. There's a lot of external configuration, particularly when it comes to templates. So your templates are going to be probably one of the most important things that you're going to want to get set up correctly. This is what controls how your audit reports are going to look when you generate them. This is how your response documents are going to look if you want to send a document to an auditee to capture responses. This is how any of your announcement letters, your thank you letters, your agenda letters that you send to an auditee are going to want to look. So this is your kind of first image of how your company is going to look to a prospective auditee. Now the template editor is an add-in for Microsoft Word. So you design your templates using Microsoft Word and putting tags into that document. So it's a bit like a mail merge, and you load that template into Master Control, configure your audit to use it, and away you go. However, so is anybody here actually running audit or is configuring audit yet? Okay, so we've got a couple of people. Anybody seen this message before? Yeah, okay. This is what happens when your template file that you created in Word isn't recognised correctly by Master Control. It's one of the more common issues you're going to get when you start configuring and start creating these templates. So, and there's a few, this is basically a session to kind of help you over these error messages and exactly what to look for when you're configuring. So the message says, the file uploaded is not valid, please ensure it's been closed. First things first, just make sure it is closed. There's a lot of times, I do it especially, I'm running template editor, I'm trying to test out new features, I've kept the template open, I've tried to upload it into Master Control, and it said no. So that's an easy fix. Make sure you also pick the right file that you've been working on. Again, it sounds logical, but it's just one of those kind of first things to make sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through three different pieces of functionality that all work together to make sure your templates are correct and valid. First of all, I'm going to show you template editor, some of the things that people get wrong when they're setting up template editor. I'm going to talk you through some copy and paste issues. Copy and paste is a brilliant tool, but it can cause issues when you're working with templates, especially when you're working with the tags. I'm going to talk a bit about how developer mode in Word will help you to see some of the issues in your template that you may not be able to see without it. And if all else fails, where do we go? So, template editor. Has everybody used template editor before? No? Okay, so template editor is, as I said, it's an add-in for Word. You install it from your master control installation from the integrations page, and as long as you obviously allow the permissions to install add-ins to Word, you can use it to create a Word document and then add special tags that are data fields from master control. Things like your summary, your scope, list of auditors, start dates, end dates. All the information you type into an audit, you can put into a tag in a template. When you generate the report, it replaces those tags with the actual data from your audit, just like a mail merge. So, when you have Template Editor installed, if you're having problems, first thing to look for is the version of Template Editor. If you've been running different versions of Master Control, maybe in a development environment against your production environment, you may have different versions of the Template Editor. The Template Editor has to be linked to the version of Master Control you're trying to put templates into. So, from the control panel, find your list of programs, Master Control Template Editor, look for the version. This needs to match the version of Master Control that you're trying to put templates into. If it doesn't, you're potentially going to run into issues. To find in Master Control, you need to find the integrations page. Integrations isn't always checked for all of your users to be able to get to. So if you can't see the integrations page, you need to make sure the user you're logged in as has permissions for that role, or just log in as sysadmin, and then you get everything. So once you're in integrations, look for the shortcut to install the template editor. This is how you'll need to install it in the first place. But as I say, if you're switching between environments, if you've got a development environment on a later version that you're testing, you're going to want to make sure that that template editor matches the version. Don't know if you can spot, but this actually says 20068. In the add remove programs, it just says 2068. That's just the way that it displays it. What you're really looking for is that 68. That's the version or the build of template editor that goes with the version of master control. As we develop new versions, the template editor may not change. So between 11.6 and 11.7, template editor won't change. We haven't built any new features, we haven't done any changes to it. So that will still be the same version. If we build a new version of template editor, we'll add that number, we'll increment that number. So you'll be able to see straight away if you're running the right version.
Steve, when
Yes.
we upgrade master control version, do we have to specifically after that have to upgrade the template editor?
Only if the version of template editor in master control is different from one you've got installed. So if you go to a new version of master control and that's still the same number, then you're fine. It's still the same template editor. So the next thing we want to look at is to make sure that template editor is actually set up correctly to work with master control. So bear in mind, this is all from Word, so this is not part of your master control installation. This is just standard Microsoft Word. If you've got the template editor add-in installed, you will see, actually, this slide, a new tab on the ribbon for template editor. If you click on that, you will then see new options, new buttons over here. When you click on that top button, which is the show panel, this will then bring up this slightly off yellow panel on the right hand side. This is where it will list the tags that you can use once you're connected to the database. So this is the reason it has to be the same version, is because this is now going to connect to your database to pull in the tags that are available to use. So what you're looking for is this. This is the server name. This has to match the address of master control that you're running. This example, I'm connecting to a server called UK Audit PM. Go to your master control installation and have a look at the address you're running. Here's a really key bit of information that will help. You can use any server on the same version. So if you have a dev environment, validation environment, and a production environment, and they're all the same version of master control, it doesn't matter which of those servers you connect to. All you've got to make sure is it's the same version of master control. So it's all about versions, the right version of the editor and the right version of master control that you're connecting to. So that's two key points. In this example, I'm looking here at my URL for master control and it's different. If you are 100% sure it's the same version, then you're fine. If you're not 100% sure, just copy the address up to either a hash or index CFM, take that address, put it into your template editor. You now know, you're guaranteed that the version you're running template editor from matches your master control version. To test the connection, this down arrow in the menu type will go and load all the template types from the database. If you click that and get this, then you either haven't put the right address in, or you've got some kind of other IT network issue that's preventing your installation of Word talking to your server. If you're definitely sure you've got the right address and you keep getting this, that's when you kind of need to go and talk to your IT team to make sure that you've got the right access and the right ports open to be able to see it. What you should get is this. It should drop down a list of all the different types of templates you can create. Most people are just going to want the first three, checklist, draft, final, and potentially the last two, memo and response input. Checklist is a way of taking your audit offline. You can create a checklist document, it downloads to Word, you can then go and audit just using Word. When you come back online, you connect back to master control and upload that checklist. And that will allow you to create observations offline, to put in your summary, your scope, and I think custom fields. Draft report and final report, this is the first issuance and the final issuance. Your memos are announcement letters, thank you letters, any letter you want to generate to an auditee that you may want to include some information from the actual audit itself. Maybe like the scheduled date and who the audit team are going to be. A response input is if you want to send a document to a customer or to an auditee for them to provide responses to your findings directly in the document to send it back to you, so that you can then control the format of that document that they're completing. Once you've got template editor configured and it's connected, close and reopen Word. What this does is this will then save whatever server name you've put in there, so that next time you go into Word, it will be using that same server. So a lot of the time, if you've put that server name in and then you go and start working with templates and something happens and Word closes or your laptop dies or whatever, it won't have remembered that server name. Only when you exit Word will it remember it. So close and reopen Word. Template editor has got a built-in validator. Once you've typed in the fixed text that you want to show, and then the tags that you want to show, so you can see here we've got number, you might have better see. We've got some tags here that represent the data that you would type in. Once you've put those tags in, one of the options is called validate. This will make sure that you've got the right tags in the right places. However, it's not 100%. There are situations that it just can't detect that you've put the wrong tags in the wrong place, or you've somehow managed to move the tags somewhere they shouldn't be. But once you hit validate and the template is okay, the panel will turn to this blue colour, you'll have template validated, you should be good to go. If you still have problems, if it doesn't validate, it will give you one of a number of different errors to tell you, hopefully, why it couldn't validate, what's wrong with its template. So this one here says, structure is invalid, please remove or replace the highlighted items. So it's already highlighted in yellow what the validator thinks are problems. So it said here, the audit summary is not a member of this group. Scope is not a member of this group. And auditors is start tag is missing an end tag. Now, groups, this is a key word to look out for. Within the template editor, you're going to have data which doesn't have a fixed number of items. So auditors is the prime example. Not every audit will have the same number of auditors. So what we have in the template are start and end groups. So it's a bit difficult. If I zoom in, it's a bit difficult to see. Oh, there we go, that's better. But here we've got a list of our auditors, and we've got that's a start tag, but there's no end. So what it thinks is that you've put the summary and the scope within the auditors group, but they're not auditor fields. So that's what it's saying. Summary is not a member of the group of auditors. So easy fix is to, let's see. So we've got up here a start tag, but no end. So what you need for anything that repeats is where this group starts, where this group finishes. When it creates a document, anything within the start and end will be repeated for however many, in this case, auditors you have. It's the same for observations. You don't know how many observations you're going to have, so you start it and end it, and it just repeats for every one you've got. So that's one to look out for, looking out for this keyword group. This says you've got something wrong with your start and end. So once that's fixed, we've now got the end tag. It's saying, okay, no more problems with summary, but we've still got a problem with scope. Rich text control must be in its own table cell. So these are the kind of errors you get when developers are in charge of the messaging. What this basically means is you need to put rich text into individual tables or individual cells. The reason for this is the way that HTML and Word talk to each other. Whatever you enter in the workspace is done in HTML because it's a web page. When it comes into Word, it converts to rich text. The way we do it is we do it in blocks. So each block of rich text, each field, has to be contained within Word. Otherwise, Word doesn't know where it starts and ends. So the way we've come up, the design we've come up with this for this, is to create table cells. So this is a really easy one to fix. If you select, so there's two ways to fix it. You can either insert a table and then put the field into the table. The quickest way is just to drop these onto the template editor, select them, go to your insert menu, insert menu, click on the table and do insert table. That will contain that tag within a table cell. If you don't want to show the borders on it, and a lot of people aren't going to want to show borders around fields like that, under the design, borders, no borders, and that will turn them off. So now it doesn't look any different, but that is now contained in its table cell, so Word will know how to process that HTML. So there's visual clues to tell you if your tables are set up correctly. If you click on this little button here to show you paragraph marks, any tables will have these little star kind of symbols. So if you look out for these star symbols, you know that your fields are correctly in tables. So we've got one in here, and these show you that this is the end of the row of the table. An easier way to show if you've got tables on is to look at is to show table grid lines. Once you've selected a table, you'll get another option here for layout. If you click on the view grid lines, it will show across your whole top document exactly where your tables are. Standard feature in Word, I guess a lot of people already know that and have already used it, but it will give you a good visual on how your document is structured, how your template is structured. These lines then won't show when you produce a report or when it converts to PDF. They're just there for guidance to show you how your layout is. So that's kind of the quick run through of how you can get over some of the issues with template editor. So next topic, copy and paste. We have quite a few issues with copy and paste and tags within templates. Copy and paste is brilliant. It's a really quick way of producing the same error multiple times. This looks like it's okay. The template's been validated. We've got tags here. We've got tags for the lead auditors, first name, surname and title. We've got a group of the other auditors. We've got a summary, we've got a scope. When you generate that document, it's replaced the auditors, it's put the summary and scope in, it hasn't replaced the lead auditor. So going back, this looks okay, there's the tags there. When you generate the document, it hasn't replaced the tags. The template was valid. The other issue with copy and paste. This is a checklist document. This is what an auditor would fill in if they were doing an offline audit. Within Word, they can create observations within Word. So this auditor has created 2 observations. They're both to do with incomplete documentation. This document, ABC123, was not complete. This document, DF456, was not complete. 2 separate observations. It's fine. When they imported that, this detail was overwritten by this detail. So what happened is the auditor had 2 observations, but they both had the same text in them. The checklist document looks fine. This looks like it should have 2 different descriptions, 2 different observations, but it doesn't. Copy and paste. This is how you can check copy and paste issues aren't causing your issues, your problems. Anybody used developer mode before in Word? By default, developer mode is not enabled in Word, mainly because there's some fairly scary stuff in there you can break it with. But if you go into your Word options, customize the ribbon, this will be unchecked. Check developer mode, you'll then have a new tab on the ribbon for developer. There is a lot of really powerful stuff you can do in Word in developer mode. All we're really interested in is this. This is design mode. This will show you what your document really looks like underneath the skin. So now, rather than just the tag names, it's actually showing you the placeholders for these tags. So this is the start and end of the auditor title tag. So if you go back to what the original problem was, the lead first name and surname were not being translated correctly. They were just coming out as tags. And this is why. What happens is someone has picked up the surname, copied it and pasted it halfway through another tag. What it looked like without developer mode is they put it on the end of the tag, but it was actually still within the tag itself. So it's now completely confused the template editor because it doesn't know what to do with a tag called lead first name, lead surname. So it doesn't do anything, it leaves the text there. It's no longer a valid bookmark. So this kind of stuff is where developer mode, design mode really comes out to tell you visually where your tags may be going wrong. Fixing them is really simple. If you click into any tag, you'll get a little grey grab handle come up. If you click on that, you've selected the entire tag. Once you've got the entire tag, you can then delete it. If you just delete within it, all you're doing is changing the name of that tag. You're not getting rid of the tag itself. So you'll still have this grey header, but you may not have any text in it. So again, the template editor is not going to know what to do with it. Once it's gone, you go back to your list of bookmarks that appear in the panel and just click on the bookmarks. Click on first name, click on surname, and it will put those tags in correctly. We've now got this ending tag after each of the individual tags. Put a space in. If you put a space in, it's going to jam those 2 first name and last name together, which isn't going to look great. When you put a space in, make sure you're not inside the tag like this. Make sure you're outside of the tag like this. It's really easy to accidentally overwrite the tags. Thankfully, designing templates isn't something you're going to do every single day. It's something you want to do right first time, and then all you're going to do from that point on is just make minor adjustments to them. But this is really key to make sure, because although we've got the validator in there, it can't detect if you've changed these. All it can say is, I know that's a tag, I'm going to try and replace it when I come to generate my document. So make sure you're outside of your tags if you want to put any text in. Every time, okay. Right, what have we got here? This is one that's recently caught us. This tag has a start and an end. This tag does not. This will generate fine until you get to a paragraph mark in your scope. So if you've typed a scope out and you've just typed it as a plain sentence or paragraph, fine. If you've added another paragraph in, and this is a bug we found, it's actually with Word, if you don't have that end tag, it will cut everything after that first paragraph. So if you generate a document and your rich text fields are being cut short, go back to your template and make sure you've got these end tags in place. The reason these get lost is if you go into this table cell after this end tag and type any character at all, it will instantly replace that with an empty end tag. It's still a valid tag. We can't detect it in Template Editor. You can only see it through Designer. But if you're missing blocks of text from your rich text fields, this is what to look for. To fix it, you just need to delete the tag and insert a new tag, and then make sure you don't type anything. You can't type anything, you shouldn't have anything anyway, because it has to be within its own table cell. If you've typed something in, the validate will say, no, this rich text field has to be on its own in a table. But then if you delete what you typed in, you're still going to have this shortened tag, not the full end tag. So that is something that may affect you to look out for. So, back to this. This is why, when that checklist got uploaded into master control, both observations had the same description. Everyone see what's wrong with those? We've got two tags. What's happened is the auditor has, instead of copying some of the text, he's copied the entire table cell and pasted it into this observation. And what it's done behind the scenes, which you couldn't see because you didn't have developer mode on, is you couldn't see that it's doubled up these tags. So this tag is actually associated with this observation. So it's basically overwritten and replaced, and both observations now have the same text because they have the same set of tags. If you're using checklists and you're creating observations and you're using copy and paste, all you need to make sure is you're not copying the entire table cell, because it is also copying then the tags within it. If you just select everything bar a small amount of text, you'll be absolutely fine. Again, it's one of the things that we've found that customers come back saying, why am I getting duplicate observations? The checklist looks fine, but it's just not coming through correctly. When we've got hold of their documents and we've looked and we've seen they've got these duplicate tags, say, are your auditors copying and pasting entire observations? So, probably. This is why. So it's unfortunately, it's nothing we can get around at the moment. What we do have is we have a feature in the pipeline to add a validate button to the checklist. So in a very similar way to we validate the templates in Template Editor, we're going to try and add that same functionality to the checklists, so that before they get uploaded, they can be checked and the auditor can see that you've got invalid tags within your document. And then hopefully they can be fixed before they get as far as the audit itself. Okay, if all else fails, if your template validates, looks fine in design mode, but just won't upload into master control, or is coming out in an unexpected format, it may be something in the actual document itself that's gone there from either a previous document or from something Word's added in that you weren't expecting. You can recreate the template, and that isn't actually as bad as it sounds. This is where copy and paste does work. If you open up a template and you select everything. Control A, select everything. Control C, copy it. So your whole template is now in the clipboard. Select the menu type. So select the type of template you want to create and create a new blank document. And then paste everything in. So you can see up here, this is the blank document in front, this is the new one, this is the old template in the background. Close down your old template, obviously don't save it, and save this new one over the top. In a lot of situations, that will clear out any kind of strange word formatting that you can't see the words put in there itself, and it will allow you to then upload the document. One thing you can do with this copy and pasting between templates is you can very easily create final reports from draft reports. So if you've spent a couple of hours creating a really nice looking initial report, all the information you want, and you now want a final report that basically looks the same but maybe with your observations, you don't have to recreate it from scratch. If you go and copy all of your tags from your draft report and then select final report as the new template, you can paste it into a new template type. So when you create a template, this template type you select is what master control will use to identify when you upload it. So it knows when you upload, you're uploading a draft report or a final report or a checklist or a memo. It knows based on this type that you start with. So this means you can now take your draft report, create a new final report, and paste everything in. And all the formatting will look the same. All you'll need to do is just make some minor adjustments based on what your requirements are for final report. You can create any template from any template by using this, but the validator may turn around and say, this isn't valid. So if you try and paste a final report into a draft report, and you've put responses in, the validator's going to say, well, no, you can't have responses in a draft report, that's not a valid tag. So what we recommend is only use this to go from draft to final, to create final reports from draft reports because they are compatible. A final report has all the tags a draft report has, plus a few more for the responses. Okay, so that's template editor. This is why, unfortunately, I didn't have time to do any of the integrations as well, but there are a couple of other points to think about, not just for configuration, but for general usage and making sure that your auditors are aware of what the limitations are when you're going from Word to HTML, back to Word, back to HTML. There's a lot of conversions going on, and there's a lot of issues that you can experience. Rich text is brilliant. It allows you to format your summary and your scope and your observations, to put bullets, to put numbers, to put tables. It's really powerful. You can do a lot of stuff with it and make a really nice looking report. There are some things to be aware of in the differences between the HTML rich text and Word rich text. So in view mode and edit mode, this is just some fairly simple text, just with some formatting applied to it. What I haven't done is I haven't changed the font. This is the default font. This is the default web font. There are fonts you can change and you can use, but if you just leave the default font, it looks kind of like this. It's a fairly nice sans serif font. But if you generate your document and it looks like this is Times New Roman. This looks completely different. And a lot of people will see this for the first time. And this is because of the way that Word is interpreting that font. So you haven't told the HTML in the workspace, you haven't told it what font do you want to use. So Word doesn't know what font to use. It's going to use whatever its default is. You can change this in your Word options, under Advanced, under this Web options. This is, everyone will get copies of the presentation afterwards, so don't worry about trying to keep up too much. But under Web options, there is a Fonts tab. This is where Word hides its setting to say, if you give me HTML and that HTML doesn't tell me what font to use, this is what I will do. I use Times New Roman. So all you need to do is change that. If you change that to match what the workspace font is, which is actually called Trebuchet MS. It's kind of the new default web font. Word will then use that font and everything will be fine. Now it is only display, so it's not going to affect anything, the actual report. Where you will get caught in this is if you're using collaboration, you're creating a draft report, it's coming out in Times New Roman, you make a spelling correction and save it, it's now put Times New Roman back into that document that you're uploading. So you've now changed the font of that rich text. So by changing that to Trebuchet, you don't even have to recreate the document. The next time you open that document, it will be in the right format. If you do, what will happen though is if you have generated this document and it's already gone to publishing, that may already be in Times New Roman, so you may then have to regenerate the document because Word will apply its default style and then publishing will pick up the correct style. Okay. I'm right on the edge of time here, so I'm going to whip through this quickly. Line spacing and paragraph spacing. This is a big one that you're going to find if your auditors are, I wouldn't say particularly fussy, but if they want their line spacing correct, then they will potentially come across this. I say they, you may be auditors as well, so I'm just going to say they. This is, in the workspace, if you hit a character return, that's a paragraph. You're creating a new paragraph. In Word, it's creating a new paragraph. By default, Word has 1.5 times line spacing for each paragraph. If you change that in Word, what you're doing is you're changing how Word displays a paragraph. You're not changing what a paragraph is. So if you change it in Word, it's not, and then make the changes in collaboration and upload it back to the workspace is still going to have the spacing. You haven't changed the spacing, all you've changed is how Word displays a paragraph. If you want to use single spacing, don't use a paragraph. When you hit return, it puts a paragraph in. If you just want to put a new line in, Control Enter puts a new line without putting a new paragraph. And that's exactly the same in Word. Word will do the same. Control Return just puts a line space. So this is with control space. It's not a paragraph anymore. It's a line space. And that will be the same in Word and the workspace every single time you go back and forth. That has caused us quite a few problems, and quite a few people have been not unhappy but haven't understood why when I change Word to show it differently does it always go back to the workspace and it's still spaced out. It's because you're using a paragraph, not a line space. Excellent, I ran through those nice and quick. We are on time, 10 past, yep. Thank you. I'm afraid that was a lot of information, and this is why there was just no way I was going to fit in anything to do with integration. But if you check out when I'm not presenting, if you want to grab me and set up a one-to-one to talk about audit integration, I'm more than happy to sit and chat with you about it. Thank you. And if you can, everyone's been asking, I know, if you can do the surveys, that would be great. Really good feedback for us. It helps us to create these conferences for what you need. Okay, thank you very much.